let's go to the person who's trying to get back the seat that was vacated by Patrick Gallagher for the government. That's Brian O'Donnell. Brian, it must be very difficult for you because you're asking people in Donegal to vote for a government, i.e. for you, the government candidate, which has got the country into such a terrible mess. I mean, that's a thankless task.
No, I don't believe it is. I believe it's an honour to stand in the election, first of all, Pat. I'm standing in this election because I believe in the future of the country. I'm standing in the election because I believe the future of the country over the next number of weeks is critically important. We have to pass our budget. We have to pass the 4-year plan.
OK, but everyone agrees, and I've heard you all talking in other programmes about what Donegal needs, the infrastructural deficit and all the rest. You guys were in power for 13 years. So I don't know why people on the doors are not saying to you, why are you promising us improvements in our locality when you had 13 years, Celtic Tiger boom years, to give us all the things you're now promising us? But you have said on the record that if Pearse was to be elected, that the old age pension would be reduced by €70 a week. He won't be in government one way or the other because it looks like Fine Gael and Labour will form the next government if the polls are to be believed. How will he influence what the old age pension is going to be?
Well, this election won't change the government. It's simply a by-election, Pat. But all I can say is that I'm standing on the government side. If I'm elected...
How would his policies amount to a reduction of the old age pension of €70 a week?
Very simply, the Sinn Féin policies, they don't agree to the 4-year plan. Sinn Féin are adopting a strategy of a 6-year plan, which means we would borrow more money, we would pay more interest. But more importantly than that, Pat, we wouldn't be in a position to go and borrow money in the new year. Currently, the country...
You're saying we go broke?
Well, the country is financed up to the middle of next year, July 2011. We need to be in a position, we need to be putting ourselves
in a position. How do you get the €70? Explain more quickly and succinctly.
Well, let's break it down very simply. Social welfare budget, €21 billion. €7 billion of that is borrowed, Pat. We're depending on people outside the country to fund our social welfare budget. If we're not in a position to do that after next July,
there'll be a third cut you won't be able to supply one-third. So everyone on social welfare will lose a third of what they get.
Absolutely.
OK, Pearse, what do you think of that?
It's absolute nonsense, and I've asked all the candidates to have an honest debate in this election because people are really afraid out there. People are afraid of what's happening at the minute with the present circumstances, but very afraid of what's happening after the budget. I doubt Brian O'Donnell knows what Sinn Féin's economic policies are, and the reality is, why can't we cut ministers' pay by 40%, TDs' pays by 20%, senators' pay? Why can't we introduce a wealth tax for those that have over €1 million of assets? It makes more sense to me, and I think it makes more sense to the people in Donegal, that we would ask those that have the ability to pay a bit more instead of taking hours of home health support, closing hospitals, closing beds in hospitals.
Hang on a second, Pearse. I'm a bit confused because your party, uniquely, is also in government in Northern Ireland. And there, this cross-party government is cutting €4.5 billion out of the budget in Northern Ireland. In other words, Sinn Féin in the north is quite happy to cut.
No,
but when it comes to competing in the south, you're not prepared to cut. You're prepared to leave most people absolutely uncut.
Unfortunately, your research team obviously has got that wrong because, for a start, and Pat, you should know this, in the north, we don't have control of fiscal matters.
Come on.
Well,
come on. Are you in government or are you not?
Pat, do we have control over fiscal matters or not? And the second thing is that Sinn Féin, there is no budget
agreement. Are you telling me, hang on,
there is no budget agreement.
Are you saying that London is determining where the cuts in Northern Ireland are going to go, or is that the Assembly in Northern Ireland and the Executive in Northern Ireland deciding where those cuts will be?
Pat, you should know, and I think the people should know, that what happens in the Northern Assembly is that a budget is given by Westminster to the devolved Assembly, and it is spread out by the ministers. And Sinn Féin are the only party in the North that are arguing against the cuts. What we believe is that what you have to have here, the same thing in the South, is you need to grow the economy. Taking money out of people's pockets will just shrink the economy. It is what we've seen in the South here. 3 budgets, which is deflationary budgets.
So just to clarify, Sinn Féin is going to vote against the cuts in Northern Ireland in the Assembly?
Sinn Féin are arguing that that is not the way
to... Are they going to vote against the cuts in Northern Ireland?
Sinn Féin are arguing that we need to grow the economy. The budget hasn't been agreed in the North, and it is a completely different matter in the South. And it is a different matter. No member of the Assembly can take a decision, or no executive, to increase tax rates on high-income earners. No member of the Assembly can introduce a wealth tax. You can't do that. That control is in Westminster, and Sinn Féin have gone into the Assembly elections to bring fiscal controls back to Ireland so that Irish people can decide how best to do it. But our platform here in the South, and we're facing a by-election to the Dáil, what we're saying is we can reduce the deficit by €4.6 billion, but it is not attacking the most vulnerable and the weakest. It is about introducing wealth tax. It is about introducing a third rate of tax. And it is about creating jobs, Pat.
Clearly you will vote against the budget if you are returned as the deputy.
Yes, I'll vote against any budget that's going to attack the most vulnerable and weakest and that doesn't have a job platform. And I wouldn't be doing my duty as a TD if I had the luxury to be elected.
For Fine Gael, I mean, what will you do if you're elected as the deputy?
Well, the first thing in Donegal we need to see is putting the county back to work. At this point in time, we've got unbelievable, catastrophic is the best way to describe it, of an unemployment situation. This government...
Will you vote for or against the budget?
Fine Gael are setting out, Pat, our proposals in relation to the budget. We will not vote for the budget if there is no growth strategy, no job creation plan with that budget. The Fianna Fáil government have been... their track record speaks for itself. And we believe and we understand that Fianna Fáil are not going to be in a position...
So you agree with the parameters of the budget, your party, isn't that? So the broad parameters. Yes. So why would you attempt to bring down a government on this if you would be doing precisely the same thing as part of a new government? Simply
because, as your analysis said earlier, your economist here said earlier, it comes down to having a balanced budget, a budget that contains savings, but a budget that also allows the country to get back to work.
So no matter really what the merits of this is, Fine Gael are definitely going to, as a party, vote against this budget, yeah? Isn't that the strategy?
It was said last Monday, Pat, that Fine Gael, if they didn't vote with the budget, that it would be internationally wrong. On Tuesday, Michael Noonan met Ollie Rehn, the Economics Commissioner, and it was Ollie Rehn gave a commitment, and Fine Gael gave a commitment, that in the preceding 4 years, that if economic growth and jobs and recovery can put in place, that there could be an adjustment to that 15 billion. Now,
what's this got to do with voting for or against the budget?
It's got to do with the fact that Fine Gael have a jobs plan. We have a recovery. We have our New Era document.
If the government has a stimulus package in this budget, will you vote for it then?
Well, if it's a clear stimulus package, one that will work. But this
times, Frank McBrearty, what about you? Will you vote for or against this budget?
Well, first of all, the people of Donegal won't vote for Fianna Fáil in this by-election.
Well, we won't presume to know what they will do. They have voted for Fianna Fáil before. Fianna Fáil, if you looked at history, they are most likely to succeed in this election.
Not anymore, Pat. The Fianna Fáil government has attacked the people of Ireland, attacked the people of Donegal. We have 21,500 people unemployed in Donegal. We must protect our farming industry. We must protect the health service. The health services that Fianna Fáil are attacking on a daily basis. We must protect our tourism industry. We must bring infrastructure.
One of your mantras is, if you vote for Frank McBrearty, you get Eamon Gilmore.
No, you vote for Frank McBrearty. If you vote for Frank McBrearty in Donegal, you get a man that's going to fight for the people of Donegal the way that the other parties should be fighting for the people of Donegal.
Don't you invoke Eamon Gilmore all the time? Like you and he are of the same party.
He's my party leader, and I'm proud of my party leader.
Now, on Friday night on the Late Late Show, he said that he obviously doesn't go along with all the cuts that are projected by the government, but he said, strangely, that if he was elected into power, he would not reverse those cuts.
Well,
now,
Pat,
what kind of a statement is that? I don't like them, I won't have them, but if they're there, I won't reverse them.
Well, Pat,
Explain.
First of all, when the budget's passed, that's the law, Pat. You know the law yourself, don't you? The budget is passed, and the issue here is, when the budget is passed...
I thought governments made laws.
Yes, that's when the budget will be passed.
So Eamon Gilmore could actually just say, I'm bringing in an amendment to the Finance Act.
That's when the Labour Party will be in the next government, Pat, if you let me finish my point. When we're in the next government, we'll address the problems with this budget that this government is going to pass.
And we will
introduce a fair budget in our first budget in government, because this is what it's about. No. It's about fairness in Irish society.
Clarity.
And there's no fairness with the Fianna Fáil.
Clarity
well,
here.
6 billion in cuts. Okay. I mean, there will be no growth in our economy.
Frank, clarity. If the Fianna Fáil government and the Greens screw people in the next budget, Eamon Gilmore, he said last Friday night that he's prepared to leave them remain screwed.
Well,
that's as I understood it.
I'm confident, and I joined the Labour Party because of Eamon Gilmore. I'm confident Eamon Gilmore will protect the most vulnerable in society when the Labour Party is the next government, and that's why I'm in Irish politics. And the people of Donegal know that I represent them properly, not the way other parties have been representing them. And I have proved that in Donegal County Council since I was elected a year and a half ago. And people said that I wouldn't be elected, and I can tell you now that I will be elected to the Dáil for the people of Donegal, because people know what I stand for, standing up for the people who
can deliver for
ultimate
the
dilemma
constituency.
for you, Pearse. We see that your deputy in Louth has decided, Arthur Morgan, to opt out because backbenchers, people who are in opposition on the backbenches, they actually have, they're not allowed to make any meaningful contribution. That will be your fate.
No matter which one of the 6 candidates get elected, within 8 days of our election, of us, whichever one of the 6 takes their seats in Leinster House, we're going to have to cast our vote in this budget. And if you vote for the government, you're voting for cuts on the ordinary people, who have been screwed by this government over 3 budgets. The way I can change that.
By the way.
That's not true. We've had 105,000 hours of home health supports withdrawn in Donegal in the last 2 years. We've had cancer services withdrawn from Sligo. We've had farmers being tossed off the land.
You
don't even know.
With Sinn Féin's proposals, we wouldn't be in a position to borrow money to pay for the services that he's talking about after the budget. We have to be realistic about our future. We can't be making false promises.
Have a bit of manners. Have a bit of manners. What I'm arguing, Brian,
Hang on. We'll come to you, Barry, in a second.
There is €25 billion sitting in a national pension reserve fund, the rainy day fund. We're putting €7 billion of it into the AIB and Bank of Ireland. What we're arguing is that €7 billion has to be transferred for a job creation fund. 54 schools in Donegal are on the school waiting list. Some of those schools have spent €1 million in rental of prefabs. Let's build the schools. Let's build our roads. Let's build our rail. Let's get our plumbers, our electricians, our plasterers, our architects off the door. Let's get people back to work.
€10 million being spent in my constituency this year on schools, Pat.
I want to look. Hang on a second. The government.
You have to be realistic about the whole situation.
The government, as you know, didn't spend all the money that was there to be spent on schools.
300
They said
million
they were tendering changes and all the rest of it, but they left a lot of people who could have been working out of work. Because they didn't spend all the money.
We have read in the media that there has been money unspent. Now, the Taoiseach did say today when we opened the school in Donegal that money, if not spent by the end of the year, will be going to next year's
only
allocation.
a portion of it can be carried over.
I'm just thinking of the people who might have been working. Yes, what do you want to say, Barry?
I always smile when I hear politicians talking about figures. It's a straight question to each candidate. What business experience do you have?
OK, Breen, what business experience do you have?
Well, I come from a farming tradition. That's where I live.
What's your job?
I have a qualification, I have a degree qualification in food technology management with business.
OK, and is that what you do?
Well, when I graduated back in 1999, I worked for a year in the Tourism College in Killybegs, in the heart of the constituency. I worked then as a nutritionist with an animal feeds company, but I've been elected on the board of Údarás na Gaeltacht, which is involved in the economic development of Gaeltacht areas, trying to create jobs in those particular areas. So I would have a real grasp of the economic responsibilities in dealing with businesses.
You picked that up as you went along?
Absolutely. Well, but my qualification would be a business background. But, I mean, if you want, there's another question raised there as well. Or do you want to come back to that?
No, I want to ask Pearse what his business experience is.
I'm not a businessman, and I don't profess to be a businessman. And these arguments have been made before that we should have the business people of the country running the country. If we had that, it would have been the Fingletons of this world that would have been in the Department of Finance. And what we need is people that have got their feet on the ground, that understand. You know, you're asking what candidates' receptions are getting on the doors. There are good receptions, but there's a lot of terrible stories out there.
What is your qualification? What is your job?
I'm a civil engineer. I'm a full-time elected representative and a father of 3. And
civil engineer, though, is what you trained as.
What I trained as.
All right, next, Barry.
Yes, Pat, my third-level education is business studies with accountancy.
Have you ever worked in business?
I have. My family's 80 years in business this year. 3 generations. We're 4 miles from the border in Ballyshannon with a pretty large off-licence and a pub. And I'm an integral part of that.
All right, you're a Republican, like Brian Cowan's family, for example.
Well, we have 3 businesses in the town. Pat, can I just say, I have a deep understanding of business.
Right.
I work closely with the business community. I work closely with the Chamber of Commerce. We're 4 miles from the border.
OK,
it's
a very simple question.
We're at the front
Frank,
line.
what is your business background?
Well, Pat, I emigrated for 10 years, like many children are emigrating now. But I come from a long-standing business background. My family's been in business for 45 years.
What's the business?
We're in the pub game, but my father was a contractor in Scotland, and I worked in the construction industry myself.
All right,